Okay, so I'm back here with a 395 Husqvarna build. This is the piston that I took out of the old one. And as you can see, it's kind of beyond all repair. The jug was a little bit messed up. You can see there's marks all around, especially those two big ones from the piston turning sideways inside. It also has a broken piece in the frame. This piece here is all cracked loose, so I have a parts machine that I'm going to rob frame parts off of, and then hopefully use my leftover parts and do a junkyard build of my own. This one's for a customer, and so I'm putting a new highway pop-up jug and piston in it. I'm going to do a little bit of exhaust porting. Just open this guy up a little bit, and maybe a little bit in the transfers as well. I already opened up the windows and the piston a little bit. I don't know if you can see there where I dremeled out and just took the casting marks out basically. I'm going to round off these corners yet and polish the edges a little bit. And I'm going to do a base gasket delete, so this gasket around here won't be in. That'll just be silicone around there. And be a high compression mod basically. I've got new bearings and a seal kit here. Gaskets. So hopefully I can get that done and get that video posted. Also the spark plug, when the piston turned sideways, kind of smashed it to pieces, so I had to replace that too. There we go. Camera wouldn't focus. So that's my plan for that right now. And since I don't have a holder for my phone, I will get back to you when I'm ready to assemble it. And there you can see I rounded off the corners and cleaned all those corners around the edges. And now I'm going to take a stone and polish them. Can't have any sharp edges, because the last thing we need is this thing going to pieces like the last one did when it's at 14,000 RPMs. And then I may even take a leather wheel over it and really polish off the corners. Last thing we need is any extra friction. And then we'll have ported and polished highway piston. So there it is. I hit it with a stone and then with a leather polishing wheel. Made the edges real nice. Can't really see it on camera, but it really smoothed the edges off all the way around. Very important to have it smoothed on the edges and no dirt. Surgically clean when this thing goes together. So I do all my porting, polishing, and then I clean stuff up and clean it periodically as I'm putting it together. Just run a standard brake or carburetor cleaner or something, just some random gum cutter through everything. That'll evaporate out. And that's it. Now for the jug. Here's the jug. I don't know if you see them rounded edges in there and the transfers. We're going to sharpen them up a little bit less wind resistance, maybe even open the sides just a tad. Not much, just enough to give it some better airflow up through the side of the transfer. And I'm not going to open up those holes at all up top. I'm just going to let them how they are. because this is a chrome lined and it's a heat tempered edges on around each of them holes, and if I mess up the edges then it can flake a lot easier. It can be polished off, but it's not as good as it would have been otherwise. And I'll just open the exhaust port up a little bit and polish her up, and I'll get back to you. So here's the jug, ported and polished. If you see right in there, my flashlight stopped glaring. I ported out that edge. Got crap on my camera. There you can see it better. Okay, you could for a little bit. There. I cleaned out that edge. And I didn't touch the cylinder wall edge in there. Just cleaned it out, made like a velocity tunnel. Cut out those. There's a bit of a wedge to help airflow. Same here, just gave it a bit of a velocity tunnel, opened up the opening a little bit further, but didn't modify the edge of the cylinder wall. And that's the jug. And I gave it a little bit of a muffler port. Now when I port out a muffler, I always leave the screen in. The screens do not restrict it, that's a hoax. But I drill 2 holes. You can see one of them down there, one of them up there. 2 different holes. That just lets more airflow through without really changing the amount of sound that it makes. And I have one side ready to go together, and as I went to split the case for the parts saw, I ended up splitting off the side of the crankcase instead of splitting the case. I'm still not sure why it hasn't split. I'm going to have to check on that a little bit closer. It may be heated together pretty good because this one has a bearing out, and I think that overheated it and made the gasket stick it together really good, so I'm going to have to check into that a little closer. But that's all for right now. Since the other side broke, me and my good friend JB Weld, I JB welded it, and I have it sitting here drying right now. We will see what that turns out to do. Hopefully that works good. If that works good, then I'll sand it off a little bit so everything fits in place, and get ready to stick that thing back together. But that's all for right now. It's about 9:15 in the evening right now, so I will be shutting it down for tonight, and I'll get with y'all tomorrow after work when I hit it again. So here it is. I don't have it fully assembled, but I have it most of the way back together. I'm getting 185 pound compression out of it. I just fired it up and ran it a little bit. Runs pretty hot. I'll probably let it like this for about the first half of its break-in period. I've got really heavy oil in the gas right now. I'll let it run on that for a little while and see how it rolls from there. I let them break in. If you start them off and go run high RPMs with them with a fresh jug and piston, you'll blow them right back up. So let's start it up now and see how she runs. So I did not get any footage of this 390 after it was running good. I wanted to, but when I took it out and tested, I didn't end up getting any footage of it. So, yeah. I will try to get some footage of operation on the next saw that I build that I do.